Welcome guys, this is Campie and I play Sanctum. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to beat map 2-1's construction site. For an early map, this map is actually really difficult I found. Although it may not be totally necessary, but I got the anti-air tower. Having the anti-air tower upgraded to level 3 allows you to just totally forget air, and there's just one thing I can totally ignore if I had anti-air out. I also chose corpse explosion as one of my perks. Since there's so many enemies, especially ones that are clustered together and a lot of weaker enemies, corpse explosion is a tremendous boon. Since there's a lot of meaty enemies, not just little enemies, it's a good idea to have something tank for you. You can have the perk that has shield minions whenever you kill enemies, that's okay. But this time I chose to use mind control. Mind control towers are very helpful because they slow down the enemy, because you can mind control an enemy and that mind control enemy can tank for you. Furthermore, all those enemies will bunch up and they'll surround and attack the mind control enemy. And whenever you have large concentrated groups of enemies, that's where corpse explosion really shines. A level 2 tower could easily kill air, if only 2 or 3 air units will come out, then it could easily kill them. But once you have 7 or 8 air units, you definitely want to upgrade to level 3 beforehand. The hovers used to be a pain in the ass to kill, but that's why we have the drone gun. If you have the drone gun, killing hovers is a piece of cake. Mind control towers can also help against hoverers, because when hoverers are mind controlled, they just stand there. And they can even attack other enemies as well, but the fact they just stand there allows you to hit them from behind or just use a drone gun and kill them. Just make a note of where the fire pits are, because you don't want to backpedal into a fire pit and die. Because if you die in 5 feats, you won't come back unless you have the perk for instant revive. But even if you have the instant revive perk, you won't instantly revive. It takes, I think, about 10 seconds to come back. And since you have a drone gun, just stay really far back behind a fire pit and just take pot shots off of everyone. So now I'm just going to build an anti-air tower on this side. I'm just going to level it to at least level 2. I'm going to upgrade my focus tower to level 2, and I'll have at least 2 level 1 mind control towers and 1 level 2 focus. And typically after that, I want 2 level 2 mind control towers, and then I'll usually upgrade the focus tower to level 3. The minimal level I usually have my mind control towers is 2. 2 is pretty good. 1 is the duration doesn't last long enough, and you don't really need 3, but 3 is nice, but 2 is the minimum I find is good. It's a good idea to put a mind control tower, one at the beginning and one at the end. The enemies that slip past your defenses, they'll get mind controlled by the control tower at the end, and they'll just run back to the beginning of the maze. And the one that you put at the beginning of the maze, you want to put it a little close to your kill zone, so that you have the enemy tanking in front of your kill zone towers. And all the other enemies that can be aggro, they'll just be standing there taking a pummel from your towers. The bulk of the damage will be done by you. With a drone gun, you can pretty much shoot into the darkness and it will find enemies for you. When killing groups of clustered enemies up close, it's still better to use the secondary fire for your machine gun. The drone gun is good for long range dot damage, over time dot damage. I guess the drawback for the drone gun is it takes about 3 seconds for the plane to actually engage enemy and then start shooting. Plus there's also flight time. It takes time for the little planes to get to the enemy. The machine gun I have, the damage is instant, but it's not as great. The drone gun, it does a ton of damage, but it's very gradual. It takes time. The drone gun is the last weapon you want to use when enemies are hitting the core, because it'll take at least 3.5 to 4 seconds for you to start damaging the enemy. And even once you start damaging enemies, it takes time for it to do enough damage to kill the enemy. One of the things I like about the Focus Tower is its upgradability. When you upgrade it, its damage increases exponentially more than linearly. The fact that it can shoot and then power up itself, I think 4 times, makes your upgrades 4 times more effective when it's shooting slow enemies. So for bang for the buck, I think upgrading the Focus Tower is really good. You might not agree, but the Mind Control Tower is actually kind of good against those little suicide guys. The reason being that the Mind Control Tower will Mind Control one of the suicide guys, and it will blow up the other suicide looms. And some of the other suicide looms will try to blow up the Mind Control loom. Killing armored heavies with a drone gun is a piece of cake. If you use the drone gun with the Ignore Armor perk, you'll be able to take down heavies and even the super heavy boss really easily. When building the last part of your maze, you want to make it very zigzaggy. The reason being is there's going to be a lot of chargers, and if you build it straight like I did at the top of my maze, the chargers would just run straight through the maze really fast. So I'm making a lot of tight turns and bends. When the chargers have to turn and go around the bends, they move really slowly. And if they move really slowly, it's really easy for you to just AoE the crap out of them and kill them. There are some suicide looms and Spitfires, so just be careful you don't get blown up or killed by flying air units. If you look over the wall, if you're too close to the enemies, they'll blow you up. You don't have to be on the floor. They can blow you up while you're on the wall. So I can just shoot grenades at the heavy and shoot some drones at the heavy. And when I shoot grenades at the heavy, any little enemies that are kind of beneath the heavy, they'll get hurt. And if you have corpse explosion, then the death of the little enemies will do damage to the heavy as well. So it's kind of like a 2 birds with 1 stone. Plus the focus laser is really helpful for killing heavies. The focus laser is also okay at killing little fast units too. Not to say that the focus laser is good against broodlings, the ones that are really fast. And focus lasers, you know, it might not be very effective against those ones, but little ones it can kill still. So I'm just going to continue building my zigzag maze at the end. I'm just going to target the warriors just to bring down their health. I'm just going to bring down his health, and then I'm just going to focus on the next warrior, because I'm confident that the first warrior will die from the towers. If you focus your attention totally to the first enemy, that's not a good idea, because the second enemy that comes through will have like full life. So I like to focus my attentions half on the first and then half on the second one. And the mind control warriors are good tanks. The fact alone that mind control warriors will run back to the beginning of the maze is amazing, because warriors are really fast and have so much health. They can run through a maze pretty quickly, so mind control tower just reverses that. They'll just run quickly back to the front of the maze. Drone guns are also very effective against soakers. If you have the crit perk and using sweet, you can kill the soakers extremely quickly, maybe like 5 seconds. So now my maze is more or less complete. I also have these blocks, extra blocks here, so I can walk around on them. Walking on a set of blocks is kind of a good idea because it keeps you from getting attacked by ground enemies. But the ranged enemies can still hit you if you're close to them. Sometimes the distance at which the focus tower can shoot amazes me. I'm shooting the soakers to pre-weaken them, and I took a lot of damage from the ranged enemies that time. The Matrox do a tremendous amount of damage. Big piles of enemies and corpse explosion equals big boom. If I didn't have corpse explosion, then this setup probably wouldn't work very well. Level 3 mind control towers, you can pretty much just overcharge your focus tower. Just make sure that your anti-air towers are level 3 as well. Anti-air towers don't work against hovers, just so you know. You want to be very careful in this level because if the chargers hit you while they're running at decent speed, they can one-shot you. Mind control rhinos just sit there, they don't attack enemies. Before drone guns were available, this level was very difficult. Some of the perks have been nerfed over the patches, but with the availability of new perks and a drone gun, it kind of makes up for the nerfing of the old perks. In the past, Baby Feet and I used to use double CMOs, and we used to just snipe those hovers in the back, and it was really difficult with 5 Feats. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this guide helpful, and I'll see you in the next clip.